Let's get started with the New York Jets against the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills win this one 30-10. I mean, look, I'm a Jet fan. I've watched this game as best as I could. Um, was I expecting a win? No. Was I expecting the Jets to, give a game to the Bills? No. The Bills are a great team. The Bills are, they're on their way to a Super Bowl. They're on their way to being, the number one seed in the AFC. Clearly, week one and now they just proved that they are still the best team that there is in the NFL. So yeah, I think the Bills are just the Jets and Bills are on two different trajectories, right? And the Bills are on their way to a Super Bowl. The Jets are just trying to not suck. Those are two very different places to be as organizations. So, in that regard, um, you could just clearly see the difference in these two teams and how they compete and how they, uh, stack up against each other. Josh Allen, MVP type of player. 14. He didn't have his best game, which is notorious against the Jets. He doesn't really play that well against the Jets. 14, 25, 148 yards, no touchdowns. Um, 59 rushing yards. But, James Cook had just an absolute field day on this Jet defense. 132 yards, two touchdowns, ripped a 44-yard run to almost start the game. Um, yeah, I mean, the Bills just ran over this Jet defense, and James Cook was able to take advantage of that. And that offensive line is really good. Um, look, I think I don't want to spend too much time on the Bills. You know how great they are. We all know how great they are. We'll move on. But I think it's a marker of a team that you are supposed to beat the teams like the Jets if you are a playoff team or if you're a Super Bowl team. Like these are games the Bills cannot let slip and they cannot let get away, even though they are divisional games. They take care of business. They move on to next week. They play the Dolphins, but they prepare, they get ready, and they absolutely just take care of business and they move on to next week. That's a marker of a great team. It's a marker of a great playoff team. It's a marker of a great Super Bowl team. You move on, you take care of business, and you move on to next week. So, very impressive from the Bills. They play the Dolphins on Thursday. They'll probably look more of the same. So, all in all, good stuff from the Bills. As far as the Jets go, I mean, it was a struggle. All day was a struggle for the Jets. Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields, 3 of 11, 27 yards. He did get a concussion. He is going to be out for the next week against the Bucks. So that's unfortunate to see. Tyrod Taylor had to take over. He went 7 for 11, 56 passing yards and a touchdown. Justin Fields has 49 rushing yards. Breece Hall 29 rushing yards. Look, I mean, this wasn't the game against the Steelers, right? Like this offense struggled today. This run game struggled today. And I think it's clear that, the strength of this Jet team is that they need to be able to run the ball and need to be able to take advantage of teams early on. They have to play with a lead. They have to play with, a stellar defense. A lot of these games are going to be decided, by probably 3 or more points if they're going to win, Like that's just how this team is. Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor are not going to go out there and win you football games. They're not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson, not Joe Burrow, right? And the success of this team is going to be dedicated by their run. And if Breece Hall is only going to get 10 attempts and you only run the ball, 21 times in a game, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Um, so yeah, I think but this Bills defense was good. They were prepared. They were understanding of that, and they knew they just had to push the ball down the field, and they couldn't. And it was a struggle all day for Jet receivers. Garrett Wilson had 4 catches for 50 yards. nobody else had over 10 passing yards or receiving yards. Sorry. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about the state of this team. Um, yeah, it's just not a good balance from the Jets offense today, and the defense did the best they could. I mean, when the offense is that ineffective, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense, and against that Bills offense, it's tough. It's a tough day for the Jets. I think you just move on. You hope that Justin Fields isn't too badly injured and that he's able to recover and that he can come back relatively soon. But yeah, they just play the Bucks this weekend. We'll see how that goes with Tara Taylor at quarterback. And yeah, just overall, great day for the Bills, bad day for the Jets. Both teams move on to next week, and we'll see where we stand come Monday. But staying in the AFC East, we have the Patriots and the Dolphins. Patriots win this one 33-27. After the Dolphins, had a very disappointing week one against the Colts, and the Patriots had a very, close game against the Raiders week one. Both teams kind of were looking for a win. And I think, the Patriots looked really good. Drake May, 19-23, 230 yards, passing 2 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, 54 rushing yards, and 88 receiving yards. Really just had a big day. Yeah, I think this Patriot team is interesting, right? Because I think the success of this team is going to come down to Drake May and how good of a player he is. And he's a good quarterback. I think we could see that. We just have to see that next level of progression that I think we're still missing from him this year. And again, granted, it's only week 2, and he did look pretty good. But the Patriots team, like it's not terrible, right? It's not a terrible team at all. They are going to win games. They're probably not going to win against great teams, but against teams like the Dolphins, you can see them compete. You can see them have some close games here and there. And this defense is going to be it's going to come up in spots. They're going to make big plays, and they're going to be able to do some good stuff with the ball. But I think this Patriot offense it fell on the right side. The defense got a clear stop to stop Tua and the Dolphins, and the Patriots just move on to 1-1. I think it's a good win for them on the road in Miami. And yeah, I think I don't love this Patriot team. I don't. Austin Hooper, Stephon Diggs are your best receivers. Not a great combination. I do not think that they're going to be in the upper echelon of the AFC or even the AFC East. But I do see them winning a couple games here and there, maybe stealing a big win from big teams towards the end of the season. I think this is a team on the come up. I think Drake May is a quarterback on the come up. But I think for right now, I wouldn't get too up on the Patriots after this week. I think they're still middle of the pack. I don't think they're the worst team in the NFL, but I don't think they're one of the best. I think they're just going to be in the middle. They're going to win games, they're going to lose games, they're going to move on, and they're going to continue to build this roster out. This is a good start. This is a good win. You take that and go into next week, who I believe they're playing the Steelers. So that's a tough one. So we'll see what happens next week. But overall, good stuff from the Patriots. I think the team on the come up, good win, solid win. You move on. Speaking of a team not on the come up, a team that we are really down on, Miami Dolphins, 0-2. And all things said about Tua, he was 26-32, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had a QBR of 43. That's not good. He had a QBR of 43. Now, the problem is that Tua looked good. The offense looked better than it did against the Colts. Tyreek Hill had 109 receiving yards. Devon Achane had 92 receiving yards. Waddle 68. They didn't run the ball at all. 15 carries, 11 by Achan. Um, it was all Tua in passing. And this one, this Miami team just looks completely out of sorts on the field and off the field. And I don't know if it's a lack of care. I don't know if it's a lack of, you know, intensity, lack of preparation. But I think Miami just does not look good in these games. And the numbers say otherwise, but this offense just didn't seem to click like it was supposed to. And that's not including the fact this defense is not good. This is not a good Miami defense. And there's no real superstar. Mika Fitzpatrick was okay. Jalen Phillips was non-existent. 4 overall tackles. You know, it lacks any kind of oomph and any kind of pass rush, any kind of like existent pressure they could put on teams. I mean, the Patriots have a good offense. Don't get me wrong, but even the Colts were able to walk over this defense. The Patriots kind of did the same thing here. Like this defense is going to be a big problem for Miami, and when the offense just doesn't seem to be as cohesive as it should be, and your run game is non-existent because your offensive line is not good, and Tua is constantly dropping back and getting sacked, you're not going to win a lot of games. I don't know how much of a lifeline Mike McDaniel has. I don't know how much longer he really has with this team. Even in his post-game press conferences, they don't sound convincing. I think very much so this is a team that is not it's not good. It's not a good team. And Tyreek Hill is a great talent. Tua is I believe is an okay quarterback. I wouldn't call him good yet. He's okay. But outside of that, this team really has nothing going for it. And I don't see them going very far in the playoffs. I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't see them getting to 500, you know? And I think they had two very winnable games, week 1 and week 2, to prove that they are, on the come up and they could be a team that can make some noise this year. And they lost both of them because their defense was not good, and their defense gave up a lot of points. And now you're going into Thursday where you play the Bills. Like it does not get easier, and it's not a good look for Miami. It's not a good look for that organization that they've kind of just done nothing the past 2 off seasons with their money and their cap. They've done nothing, and I think we could very much see a big trade deadline from them. We could very much see Matt McDaniel's fired before the end of the year. Um, yeah, I mean, Miami's not a good team. They're just not, and that defense is going to be a big part of why it's not good. It's going to be a big part of why they're going to struggle and lose a lot of games. And they're just probably going to start the season 0-3. And granted, maybe the point of this year was to see how Tua was going to play. But if that was the only point, and you'd rather lose, 17 games in a row, what was the point then? So not a good look for Miami. They go 0-2. Patriots look really good here. They look strong. They come away with the win. They go 1-1. Both teams move on, and we're going to move on to the game I was kind of surprised with. Seahawks and Steelers. So Seahawks 31 beat the Steelers by 7. Seahawks 31, Steelers 17. Seahawks get the win in Heinz Field. Uh, yeah, I mean, look, Sam Darnold looked good. 22 to 33, 295, 2 touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 103 yards and a reception. Cooper Kupp, 90 yards. Looked really good. And his defense, I wouldn't say the Seahawks defense looked really good as much as the Pittsburgh offense looked really bad, right? Like, I'll start the Seahawks here first. I'll give them some praise. Sam Darnold looked really good. I think this, I can't even say this. Like, I think the two things happened here, right? I think the Steeler defense is a lot worse than we thought it was. DJ Watt and Aaron Highsmith are really good, like really good, but Cam Hayward just looks lethargic, or Alex Highsmith, sorry. Uh, Darius Slay got cooked a couple of times. Peyton Wilson had a solid game. Chuck Clark had a solid game. Jalen Ramsey had Jalen Ramsey had, he looked okay, but other than that, it just wasn't good. You know, Jackson Smith was a good receiver. Cooper Kupp's a good receiver. They're both up there in age though, and Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. I mean, like he's a good quarterback. You're gonna get what you're gonna get from Sam Darnold, but 105 yards to Kenneth Walker is kind of crazy. It just this Pittsburgh defense maybe isn't as good as we thought it was, and you have back-to-back games giving up 30 points. To teams with really like mid offenses, to say the least. So that's kind of surprising. And credit to the Seahawks, they played well. They played up to their standards. They played up to their level. So I'm not taking away anything from Seattle here. I think it's a much deserved win, a much needed win after the collapse against the Niners. But I think Pittsburgh here looked really bad. Like Aaron Rodgers, 18-33, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, got pulled in the fourth when they were down by 31-14. So not great there. Jaylen Warren was their highest receiver with 86 on 4 receptions. DK Metcalf had 3 catches for 20 yards. It's a complete 180 from what happened against the Jets. And the Seattle defense is really good. Yeah, I guess, but I genuinely think like this offense was not good. Aaron Rodgers was not good. I think he showed his age here. He showed his. I think you're gonna get games like this man Aaron Rodgers where he's not gonna be good. I think DK Metcalf was not good. Yeah, just overall just not good from the Steelers. And I think that's kind of the MO with this team is that we don't know how good or bad it really is. I think we like this team. We like, the names involved. We think it could be successful. But I think at the end of the day, what you have is a very old team with a lot of experienced players who are still trying to figure each other out. And I think the biggest concern is that offensively, that's going to take time. But defensively, it's back-to-back 30-point games that you've given up to offenses that are not as prolific as they should be, right? So in that regard, it's a bit surprising. It's a bit worrying, to say the least. And they play New England this week. I think this is going to be a good test for Pittsburgh to see if they could right this ship, or if this is going to be their trend, where their defense isn't as good as maybe we think it is, right? So I think this is New England's a good test in Foxborough, by the way, for this Pittsburgh team. Because I really need to see something impressive from them because their start to the year has not been good. It has not been good at all, from a defensive standpoint. And even this game offensively was not good. So we have to see whether the trend will continue from them, whether they're able to bounce back and they're able to kind of right the ship. They're a veteran team. They probably know what they have to do. Mike Tomlin will probably coach them pretty well into what they have to do. And we'll see what happens on Sunday. But again, Seattle looked good. Seattle looked strong. Sam Darnold looked really good. He got the nerves out. Cooper Kupp had a big game. And Jigba had a big game. They played New Orleans this weekend, so that's not gonna say win, but it's a good momentum builder against a less team that they should beat. This is a team that they should beat. But upsets can happen. They always do. But we'll move on to another game I'm very surprised and interested about for a couple different reasons. The Jacksonville Jaguars against the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals win this one 31-27. So obviously the big story here is Joe Burrow getting pulled with turf toe. He's going to need surgery. He's going to be out for 3 months at the minimum, maybe more. Also, Jake Browning had to take over as quarterback. And Jake Browning had a very interesting day, to say the least. 21-32, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Yeah, I mean, Ja'Marr Chase had 165 receiving yards. Higgins had 56 receiving yards. Yeah, I mean, this was a fun game to kind of look over and read about. Um, yeah, I mean, Cincinnati, this is what they're gonna do, right? I mean, their offense is gonna be prolific. Ja'Marr Chase is, if not one of the best wide receiver in the NFL. And Jake Browning can lead a team. He's done it before. It's not gonna be his first rodeo doing it. They trust Jake Browning. You could see the rust was still there because he made some pretty crazy throws in this one. Yeah, he made some pretty crazy throws. But yeah, Andrew Wigger, Devin Lloyd, Eric Murray, all with interceptions. Um, yeah, just it was a very interesting day from Jake Browning, but they come away with the win. The defense did enough against this Jacksonville Jaguar team, and yeah, I think the Bengals, they play close games. They just it's the marker of their team. This offense without Joe Burrow now becomes a much more interesting look. I think they're still going to push the ball with Jake Browning. They've clearly shown they're not going to shy away from that. Um, he threw the ball 32 times. That's going to be their team. And he can do it. It's not like he can't. But Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow, obviously. So I don't mind the move. I don't mind. Um, I think Jake Browning can get it done and will get it done or hold it down for a couple weeks while Burrow's out recovering, a couple months. But yeah, just a very, very interesting game to break down and watch. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bengals do next week. They play the Vikings. That's a very good defense to play. In Minnesota, it's a tough road game. They almost let week 1 go to the Browns, and here they almost lost to the Jaguars. So they're playing a really good Minnesota team that's hungry for a win. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. And look, this defense hasn't changed. They're going to give up points. They're going to let good teams carve them up. It's going to be on this offense without Joe Burrow, and they'll try to keep up with other teams because this defense ain't going to win. This defense ain't going to win them many games. Let's say that. So, very interesting, very unfortunate news about Burrow. Hopefully, he recovers well and is able to come back because the league is better when he's in it. The Bengals are a better team when he's around, but it becomes much more difficult now. But I do think Jake Browning is a decent backup. I think he just had a lot of rust he had to wear out. I think he will do some good stuff, and he will get the job done with the Bengals. Um, I don't know. I don't know how much this offense changes with him in it, if at all. But I think you do see a little bit of regress. This defense has to step up now. This defense has to step up and play better. So if they don't, they're going to get killed in a lot of these games. Um, moving on to the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence. He was 24 42, 271, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So five turnovers in this game all together by both teams together. Look, Travis Etienne, 71 yards. Park Washington, leading receiver, 76 yards. Brian Thomas, 49 yards. The Jaguars are interesting, right? They're a very interesting team. I think this offense is decent. I think Brian Thomas is a good receiver. I think Travis Hunter had 3 receptions for 22 yards. I think Travis Etienne's a good running back. Brian Thomas needs to play more. He needs to be more involved. I don't care how, if or when you have to get him the ball as much as possible. He's your best player. Him getting 49 yards is inexcusable against this Bengals defense, which they probably should have done better against. Granted, they got 3 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence needs to play better. Trevor Lawrence needs to play better. The only way this team is going to go far anywhere is how good Trevor Lawrence really is, and if he is still good. This is a big prove-it year for him. 24-42 is not good. That's not a good recipe. 271 yards is okay, but against this Bengals defense, you should be doing a lot better. You should be able to. As Bengals defense is good, it's not great. Trevor Lawrence should be doing better against this team. He really should. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about this game and this team other than that. The Jaguars probably deserve to lose. They need to play better. They need to. I don't know how far this team goes. I think the division is very winnable for them. It's right there, but the Bengals are a team that without Joe Burrow and against that defense, you feel like you have a chance, and you feel like you can get up for it. You feel like you can give yourself a good opportunity to win, and they didn't take advantage of that. And I think it shows that teams like that don't go very far. Um, and yeah, I just don't see the Jaguars going very far this year. And this game just kind of proved a lot of points that were made about them is that their offense is just not good. If Trevor Lawrence is good, not great, and that defense is that defense. It's fine, but it's not a winning. It's not a team built to win, right? I think this was a game they could prove that, and they didn't. They play Houston, the Texans this weekend. So that's a big game for them. Another big game from that where they have to prove it and show they could they could beat teams like Houston. Will they? Probably not. But it's a good opportunity for them. This offense proves they could score a little bit. Trevor Lawrence proves he can still play a little bit, but I think it's the Texans. That defense is too good, right? I think that's the marquee of this team. That the Jaguar team against good defense is not going to perform well. So I think Jacksonville just has not a lot going for it. I think this is one of the situations where they played a very mid defense, and the Bengals lost their best player, literally, and they still almost eked out. They still lost, So I don't know. I think Jacksonville is not going to be too good this year. I think this is part of the reason why. But both teams move on. We move on to the Monday night slate. We're going to start with the 7 o'clock game between the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Houston Texans. Bucks 20, Houston 19. Fun game, very fun game to watch. In a game that went down to the very bitter end with Baker Mayfield driving the ball down the Texans' throat, and getting the game-winning touchdown. Not 2-point conversion, but getting the game-winning touchdown. And Baker, he looked very good in this game. 25-35, 215, 2 touchdowns. He had very clutch runs as well. He had a big one for a first down and one for, I think, a fourth down. So he was very clutch here. Rachaad White got pushed in the winning touchdown at the goal line. Mike Evans, 56 yards. Bakhtiari, 50 yards. And Booker, 29 yards. Yeah, this was a fun game. This was a very competitive game. I think both teams are, I think the Bucks are happy to win. Texans are unfortunate to lose. I think the Texans could have very easily won this game. This defense was really good today. I think the Bucks defense was kind of impressive too. To my standard, I wasn't expecting them to play that well against Houston, and they did. Yeah, that pass rush was really good. CJ Stroud kind of struggled a little bit again. He really struggled. He was 13-24, 207 yards, 1 touchdown. Should we worry about CJ Stroud? I'm not at that point yet, but this game does not help his case. I think, the Texans are as good as their defense. They're only as good as, I think their defense is their strength. I think clearly their offense still needs some work. Nico Collins had 3 catches for 52 yards. That's their leading receiver. Nick Chubb had 12 carries for 42 yards. That's their leading rusher. You know, this offense isn't that hot, to say the least. And Stroud going 13-24 is not good. It's not. Um, but with that being said, they lost by a point. I think this Texan team could see some struggling this year. They're 0-2 now. I'm not ready to push the panic button on them yet, but this game does not help matters. Does not help the cause. Now they played Jacksonville. I think that's a get right game. I think it's a game they can start taking themselves out of the hole. 0-2 is not a complete disaster yet. I think there's still time to get the offense going, and I think the defense is already really elite. So I'm not worried about that. But this offense for Houston really needs to start clicking. They really need to start getting in a groove and start getting momentum going because you feel like they should be able to put more up on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's got a good defense. They do. I'm not saying they don't, but you feel like there's more here to unlock, and they had opportunities and they let it get away, and they just did not drive the ball consistently down the field as much as they should have. And Tampa Bay looked really good. They played a good defense. They played a really solid team. Baker looked really good again. The offense looked really good. And again, I think against a struggling Houston offense, they they were down early. They took the lead. They went down late. They got the game-winning try by Baker. Baker is he's really good. He knows how to drive the ball down the field. He knows how to get a team going. I think it shows his qualities as a quarterback. He's able to get the guys going, get a first down with his legs. He can throw the ball, push the ball down the field. He makes some crazy throws in this one. That I don't know how they don't get intercepted, but when push comes to shove, Baker always seems to find a way to get his team a win and get him. When it comes to a clutch scenario, Baker Mayfield is one of the best quarterbacks in that regard, where you feel like with the ball in his hands the last 2 minutes, there's a good chance he's going to drive the ball down the field. It's not every time, but you like your chances with him and the ball in his hands with 2 minutes to go. So that's a great compliment to him. So Baker, shout out Baker, he looked really good, played really well. So all in all, good stuff from the Bucs, good stuff from the Texans. I'm not worried about Houston yet, but he's getting a little bit warm. The Bucs play the Jets this weekend. I don't have much to say. That's everything I said about that. So we'll move on. Houston plays Jacksonville, big game for them this weekend. So we'll see what happens there. Really fun game to watch. This was a really good Monday night game to start. And then you have the Chargers and the Raiders to close out the week. Chargers 20, Raiders 9. I don't have much to say about the Raiders. I'll say this. The defense looked really good. This defense looked legit. Much more impressive than I thought it was going to be against this Charger offense, which I think is really good, and came on late. Look, this Raider defense had this Raider offense had a lot of opportunities to really push the ball in. Geno made some big throws, made some big plays. Troy Myers had a big game. Ashton Jeanty was okay. I feel like they need to involve Jeanty more. I feel like they're not giving him the ball enough. 11 carries is not enough. Geno 24, 33, 180, 3 interceptions. Not great, but they were in the red zone a couple of times. They just could not punch the ball in. They could not, get it. They couldn't get out of field goal range and into, red zone territory. But I feel like the Chargers kind of gave them opportunity after opportunity to go down the field and score, and they just didn't. Either it was intercepted or it was, just a bad drop or just a miscommunication, incompletion. Like this Raider offense just was not clicking tonight, or that night. But yeah, I think overall, I think this Raider team 1-1. I think those are very, I think this game wasn't winnable, but it was closer than it should. Than it probably seems. I think the Raiders were in it to the very end. But other than that, I think this Charger team is really good. Herbert, 19-27, 242, 2 touchdowns. He made very clutch throws towards the end of the game in the second half. Kind of had a slow start to start, but came on at the end very well. Uh, he was a leading rusher with 31. Quinn Johnson had 71. Keenan Allen had 61. Keenan Allen is wow. Herbert did fumble the ball twice. He lost one of them. I don't think that's a concern. I think just how it is. But yeah, I think Herbert has definitely seemed to be taking that next step for a quarterback. He seems to be evolving into a very clutch, a very game managing S quarterback who's able to get the ball and he knows what to do with it. He knows how to find and recover and able to find his game when he's struggling a little bit to start. And he's able to get his team where it needs to go, right? Had an early lead. They managed the clock well. They managed the game well. The defense did its job, held up its end, and Herbert did a good job. He comes off the big win against the Chiefs. They go into Vegas, look really good, and they move on. You know, very similar to the Bills. This is what playoff teams do. I think the Chargers are on their way to, I wouldn't say a Super Bowl, but I think, they're on their way to a very, very big season. And you have to beat teams like the Raiders. You have to beat them. They knocked out the Chiefs already. I think they're first place in their division. This is a really good start for them to start the year. They look really good, look really strong. Defense look good. Harbaugh looks like he knows what he's doing over there. And the Raiders, they're fine. They're fine the way they are. But yeah, I think both teams. I think the Raiders look happy. I think I think they're a solid team. I think these are games they're gonna struggle with. But I think overall they look pretty good. I think Pete Carroll has them going in the right direction. And I think they'll do well. They play the Commanders this week, so tough game for them. Uh, we'll see how they play against that, but I think they played the Chargers really well. I think that defense is really good, and that Commander offense struggled in back-to-back weeks. So we'll see how they look. I think the Raiders. I wouldn't count them out of that game. Um, I think they have a good chance there. I don't think they'll win, but I think they have a good chance. And the Chargers, uh, they play. Who do they play this week? They play Denver. Big divisional game there. Big divisional game there. That's going to be super fun to watch. Um, yeah, I think the Chargers are. I think if the Chargers want to prove they're the best team in the AFC, they have to beat the Broncos. I think that's going to be their big test this year, holding off the Chiefs and beating the Broncos. I think that's going to be very interesting to see how they fare in that one. Um, but again, overall fun game. Two good Monday night games. Maybe this one's a little bit boring, but boring could be fun. I think boring could be fun sometimes. This is one of those instances where boring was fun. Um, but yeah, I think overall this was a good game for both teams. I think both teams come away with something decent to look forward to in the season. I think both teams look good, strong, and decent. I think both teams are happy where they are. Um, so that's gonna do it, I believe. Yep, it's gonna do it for this kind of like mini uh game breakdown review and stuff like that. Lewis did some games, I did some games. Probably back to regular schedule programming this weekend. Look forward to that. Look forward to a lot of the other games, upcoming games, or the news, other stuff coming up. It should be super fun. Should be super exciting. Thank you guys for watching, listening. Thank you guys for sticking around. I've been Daniel. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment on social media, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.